we've all been doing this wrong. And maybe this is why all our chefs are poor. And maybe why all us business owners are working in the business so much for nothing and struggling because we're maybe not quite addressing all the things that we need to be addressing.
Welcome to Dirty Linen. You're with Dani Valent. We're talking food. We love to do that. We always knew she was going to take over the world. And Shannon Martinez, who has reframed and rejigged and reimagined her business numerous times over the years, has taken Smith and Deli, Smith and Daughters, into new territory once again. Shannon, welcome back to Dirty Linen.
Thank you, Dani. Good to be talking to you again.
So lovely to chat to you. Now, you're well known for creating vegan food that is like exciting. It's different. You're going to love it whether you consider yourself a plant-based person or not. Tell us what you are up to now.
Well, we've just launched our new location in the CBD, which is crazy to me considering the last 4 years. And if you'd told me a year ago that I'd be in this position, I would not have believed you for a second. So it's from almost closing to expansion within 6 months is pretty crazy. But it's all the things that I knew this business could be, I think we are about to actually be able to put into action.
Wow. Well, tell us what's happened. Like what's flicked the switch for you?
Well, I met an incredible woman towards the end of last year, a friend of a friend, and she actually came to me just for advice, like many people do, about potentially opening their own plant-based business and, you know, what the market is like and all of those things. And pretty much my only advice to them was to join me because I've been doing it for a very, very long time, and it's a very hard industry for even people that have been doing it forever, let alone someone who's getting into it for the first time. So my advice was to not do that and to join a veteran, which would be me. And she was really keen on that idea, and she brings a element to this business that we haven't had before, and she comes from a finance and a legal background. And unfortunately, as chefs in school, we're not taught a lot of things that are extremely essential in running successful businesses. And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day if your food is incredible. If you can't get the rest of it right, it means nothing. So she's brought a really special and important, like integral part to this business that we've been missing for a really long time.
So her name is Kelly Jarrett, and she calls herself an impact investor. And Shannon, I'm so happy that you found someone who can bring this piece of the puzzle to your business, your creativity, your drive and passion. As you say, like you need every piece of the business puzzle to make these things work and to get your ideas to the people. What have you noticed? You know, what has she shown you that perhaps you didn't have locked down before?
Well, I mean, I think, as chefs, we all learn ways of how to cost your items, and there's a particular sort of method that we all kind of use. You include your labor and you include your food costs and you come up with your pricing. But I think what we lack in hospitality is really understanding a bigger picture. And there is so much, especially these days, that we don't really account for as much as we should. And that is every single element to make that product, whether that be the person front of house that sells that product, from the kitchen running similar to its own business. I'm providing your shop front as a separate business. So, that means your kitchen costs are covered as well as your front of house costs are covered, because the front of house people who are selling the products, where is where is that coming into play? And this may not be for every business model, but for us, especially because we have such a vast amount of products. We're not simply selling our sandwiches here. Like, we're selling our sandwiches. We also sell our frozen ready meals. We also do catering. We do a lot of different things that come from different parts of this business. And so, at the end of the day, we were sort of thinking, so where's the money for the rent coming from? And where is the money for the front of house staff coming from? And there were a lot of spaces that weren't being covered by our usual food costing rules. And even with the apprentice chefs that I've had in, and even just recently, she brought some of her homework in, and we're sitting down and they're teaching chefs to cost their menus exactly the same way as they were being taught when I was at school in the 90s. And business is a totally different beast these days. And we can't just think that adding your food costs and your labor costs is going to give you the amount of money you need in order to keep those doors open these days. So having someone coming from a finance background who's like Kelly is heavily working within the business. She's not just an investor, but she is here as much as I am, and she's working at home, and she has literally torn this place to pieces and found every single hole there is and how we're going to be able to fix that, because unless we have everything covered, there is no point. I mean, I wasn't taking a wage for over 5 years because I just wasn't able to. So if a business can't operate with paying everyone in the business, including the owners, then it's not working. So this has been an adjustment for me too, because I'm a professional feeder, right? I want every single person to be able to afford every single thing that I offer. But unfortunately, that's not going to keep the doors open. And so whether that means things have to go up a couple of dollars here or there, and that makes a difference of every cost being covered, it's a really vital one for us in order to be able to survive.
Oh, Shannon, there's so much in what you said. Actually, I don't know why I feel like I'm about to burst into tears, but I think it's because, it is just not right that you have not been paying yourself. And, you put so much into what you do. You're such a revolutionary, the way that you've reframed what it can mean to eat plant-based food has meant so much to just thousands of people all around the world. And the fact that you've put yourself last in this business is, I get it. I know that that's you. But, that is obviously unsustainable. And it's just breaks my heart that it's this random occurrence where someone comes in basically to, with all good intentions, no doubt, but to learn from your experience and to bounce off it to create, her own enterprise. And, you brought her in and, that's great. But what the hell that you were keeping going, but you weren't paying yourself?
It was actually even worse than that. I was working other jobs in order to fund this place. So with Overload Hotels and Lona Misa and all of my consulting work with Marvel, those jobs on top of my job here, every cent I earned was coming back into here, and that's not sustainable. But it was getting to a point where I couldn't afford to close and I couldn't afford to stay open. If it was as easy as shutting the doors, I would have done it, but I couldn't afford to because I would have been bankrupt. So I had to just try and hang on for dear life until it wasn't possible. And thank God I did, because I believe in the brand enough, and I put everything I have into it that I wasn't going to go out without fight, and it literally came down to the wire where Kelly came in. And it was it felt honestly to me like it's hard to not feel like the world has been against me for a long time with the cancer and everything. It's just nothing was working in my favor, and it wasn't for lack of trying, I can tell you that. And it looked like finally someone was looking out for me and aligned me with the right person. And I've been trying to get investors for a while, because really it was coming down to finances. But I understand that plant-based businesses is a bit risky, especially at the moment where it's kind of seeing a little bit of a slump. So it needed to be someone that believed in the cause and believed in what we were doing here. And that's pretty hard to find. And I couldn't have been matched up with a more perfect person, really, because she's very passionate about plant-based eating. She's plant-based herself, and she happened to have the finances that we needed to do the things that we needed to do to make this business become profitable.
I want to talk a lot about, the place of plant-based eating these days, but I do want to touch on the health stuff because, you've been struck with breast cancer like a couple of times and gone on a really, gutting health journey. I remember sitting on the couch in the depths of some lockdown or other messaging with you when you were going through treatment, and just really admire the way that you've kept going with ferocity and belief, and cooking without taste buds and all those hard things that you went through. But I mean, let's talk about running a business that's really demanding and tricky and perhaps not always going well, and health. Even for people that, are well, it's very taxing. Like, what has it been like for you to have these concurrent journeys of business struggle and health struggle?
Pretty draining, to be honest. Mentally draining, physically draining. What I struggled with the most, I guess, was trying to stay. Positivity isn't something that I find hard to be able to be. I'm very good to a fault, which probably requires a lot of therapy, to put my own shit in the background and just worry about everyone else. I don't really tend to make a fuss about my own situation because I know it's no one else's issue but my own. Just trying to be creative is kind of what I found to be quite hard after a while. It's just when there's no space for inspiration, or no matter what you do, it's always negative, not negative. I mean, it's negative in some people's eyes, of course. But it didn't matter how hard you worked or how much shit you trolled yourself through. It never felt like enough. And that, when you find yourself in that position, it can be very hard to find the energy to be creative and to find that spark that made you do this in the first place. Because when you try something and you're giving it your all and you're working 18 hours a day, whatever it is, it's like, if it's never enough, it's very hard to kind of, what are we going to come up with today? Look at these beautiful zucchinis. Like, it was getting to a point where I didn't give a shit about the zucchini at this point. Do you know what I mean? And that was the hardest for me, because that was new for me, because food is the one of the only things I really feel passionately about. So to lose that passion for a while there was really hard. It was like fighting an inner demon in a way, because I'm like trying to force myself to do something, and I'm just like, I haven't got it in me, when there's so many things going on. The one little bit that gives you joy is kind of like, it fades into the background a little bit. So, now I'm finding that this is going to open up that chance for me to be able to find that again and get back into that passion without having to spend all my days hearing, we can't afford that, this is broken, someone's quit, whatever it is. And it's just draining. But now it's just like exciting, because now I get to be back in the kitchen. Now food gets to be my focus again. And of course, it's going to be an ongoing challenge to keep a business open. That's what everyone has to go through, right? But if I've got someone now with me who's got my back and I know has the best interest of the business at heart, and also the know-how financially in terms of numbers and the back end of things that is there for the business, it means I've got a bit more space now to do the thing that I got into this for in the first place.
Yeah, I so love to hear that. You've created so many incredible dishes and elements of dishes over the years. I mean, I remember the first time I tried your smoked salmon that was made out of compressed watermelon. Was so thrilling. I think I remember a mapo tofu that was all vegan. Just the creativity and the experimentation and the cleverness, and I suppose just that way that you've got such a talent for breaking down ingredients into the elements and working out, what you could replicate or what could be replaced or what could sub in for this and that, and just creating a dish that was not just a good sub, but just like a some bloody banger in its own merits.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, trying to figure out all those things. And it's fun to me. That's why I started doing this in the first place. So it was really interesting, and hard and tricky. And I love getting lost in washing gluten in my house like some weird gremlin for 3 days and coming outside of it with a new vegan mortadella. That's just unbelievable, and that I love that shit. I really do. And with all those other things going on, there was no space for that anymore, and you kind of just keep wondering, well, how can I get out of this? I can't get, but also if I do, what am I going to do? Like, even if I could get out of this, it's not because I want to. Like, I can't even imagine doing anything else but hospitality. Unfortunately, we're cursed with this because we love everything about it, and thinking of, what do I do, retail? Hell no. Like, well, my blood, my passion, my life is hospitality, and for everything, for all its ups and downs, I unfortunately love every single bit of it. It's got me, there's a reason why we're all a little bit crazy. There's some form of masochism in there, I'm sure.
Well, it's masochism but so much pleasure as well, and the pleasure that you give to others. So, Shannon, is there anything that you are working on at the moment, dish-wise or ingredient-wise, or, any sort of meal concepts that you can share with us that you're really excited about?
Well, the newest thing, and it won't necessarily be anything new, but it's the way we're doing it. I've found that that for me as a plant-based chef, that there is an insane lack of Australian-made plant-based products available to chefs, and especially of a level that they potentially would need to be. So we're going to start moving into food service, because I think to be able to have chefs know our brand, they understand what we do, I think there will be a certain level of trust about the quality of a product. So I really want to make putting on plant-based food really easy for chefs everywhere, because I honestly think that the more people serving plant-based food, the better. I'm not all about being the one. I don't want to be Smith and Deli and only Smith and Deli everywhere. I want lots of plant-based businesses, and I want every restaurant to be able to provide really good options. But I understand that it may not be the focus for many places. Pubs, for example, may not have a need to spend a lot of time developing a vegan menu, but know that it's crucial to have one. So we have started coming up with our list of items that we think will be most useful, and we're going to start probably with some base sauces and things like our really beautiful cheese sauces that we make using fermented tofus that can be used as is or altered by the chefs in order to flavour them how they like, which they can use in bakes and lasagnas and sandwiches, however they want to use it, but to give some chefs a few weapons to make their lives easier in their own kitchens, with also being able to put their own spins on it. So we really want to once De Graves has sort of found its feet and is running comfortably, and everyone sort of has a grasp on that, that's where we're moving to next. And that's talking to manufacturers, and that's new for me. That's new ground for me. It's working with producers. We're currently working with one called Demona as well, and they're a fully vegan business too. So how can we also work with other vegan businesses in order to support them in a time that right now is quite hard for vegan businesses in Australia? To ease up on our workload, but still be able to make the products that we make in-house ourselves, and working closely to develop those on a larger scale. So it's cool to be in a different environment for me. This is out of my comfort zone, and I like that. It's good. It's good to learn new skills. That's why I did the hotel thing, the new skill for me. And then finding people, building new teams, and finding people that all have strengths where maybe others are lacking in, it's Kelly on the back end. That's my weakness. I've got another chef here who's come from time at Whole Foods in London, who is running the food section there. So someone that understands scale, and just forming this new team. That's quite exciting for me, and gives me a new boost of energy to have really smart people at what they do just all around me.
I love that. And I'm sure when you go into the manufacturing space, I just can only imagine you just soaking everything up and it giving you lots of ideas for, things that perhaps you want to bring back to the restaurant or whatever it might be. Shannon, let's talk about the place of plant-based food these days. You know, a few years ago, it felt like, you know, vegan was going to take over the world, and you know, everyone was really leaning away from meat. It just doesn't feel quite the same now. Where do you think the place is for plant-based eating?
I agree with what you're saying. There was a huge boom, obviously. I mean, I think that came from decades of cynicism about plant-based food, and when sort of had its biggest boom, I guess, in the 2010s ish, and it was everywhere. It's because it was new, I guess, new to a lot of people, and it was a big focus on your meat alternatives and Impossible coming out, and these huge brands beyond, and huge funding from celebrities, and it was just everywhere. Beyonce's vegan for a month, wow, and it's in the papers and it's everywhere. Everything goes up and down. Everything does, always. And I think, and there is, if you want to dig deep enough, quite a bit of proof of it, that it was a threat to particular industries, I think, at one point also, and there was a hell of a lot done to ensure that it was controlled, I think. And I think that happened with the misinformation, the fear-mongering that started to pour out about how unhealthy vegan food was for you, how heavily processed vegan food was, the very one-sided story that came out about vegan food wasn't real food, forgetting the fact that vegan food is essentially plants. And no one's fooling anyone by thinking that eating burgers is a healthy move. It's not healthy if you're eating meat or if you're eating a plant-based burger. I mean, but there was a narrative that really did come out that really, really affected people. And I think that with the pandemic coming through too, at a time of stress, I think people want comfort and they want safe. And I think with the lockdowns and the rise of carnivore diet and this whole caveman back to basics kind of thing, people aren't willing to get out of their comfort zone when they're in times of crisis, I think. And so people seem to revert to what they know during times of stress, I think. So I think any maybe curiosity or willing to learn new things, potentially, or advance may have stopped at that point. But I don't see it as going anywhere. You go to Europe and it's absolutely thriving. I think in America, I mean, who cares, to be honest? But I mean, it seems to be such an insane lust for blood over there in more ways than one. And it seems that whole carnivore movement just seemed to have spewed out of that country and kind of trickled down to many places. But I'm 100% confident that this is just a dip. With the customers I talk to and the people that we have, we did a lot of market research before we opened up De Graves. We saw that while obviously vegans are a very small part of our community, people actively trying to reduce their meat intake makes over half of our population, whether that be pescatarian, vegetarian, or simply reductarian, or reducing your meat intake. That is a huge number. And they're the people that we're trying to cater to, I guess. So making those choices easier. So at De Graves, we're literally above the staircase that goes down to Flinders Street Station. So to be able to come in for a glass of wine after work, a couple of tapas, and then grab a lasagna out of the freezer and be able to throw it in the oven, we're really making those choices super easy for you. So if it's, I have people saying it takes too long, it costs too much, or whatever it is, we're really trying to break down any barrier that you may think there may be and give you what you need, the tools that you need in order to make those decisions really easy. Because I understand we're all time poor right now. And, the ready meal market is only expanding. And with that, the quality also needs to be top tier, I think. People know food too well now. They're not going to put up with subpar food these days, especially with how much stuff costs, like I'd love to make a lasagna for $8, but it's just not possible. So if I'm going to be charging $40 for a lasagna for 4 people, it needs to be really good. But we are just really trying to break down any boundaries there are. And hopefully be able to convince people that that's not tricky and those swaps will be easy.
Yeah. I mean, I love that, Shannon. And it makes so much sense. I eat meat, I eat dairy, I really enjoy it, but I would definitely say I'm eating it intentionally. And if I'm eating some meat, I want to notice it. I want to, hopefully I know where it's come from. And, I'm mindfully eating it. If it's the choice between, I don't know, some anonymous chicken in a pie or a sandwich and choosing something without meat, I'll go without meat every time because, so if there's an easy vegan choice there, then bring it on.
That's it. Exactly. And that's sort of, I think that's the mentality of a lot of people these days, which is amazing, and the world will never go vegan until we're absolutely forced to, which who knows, may not be that long. But until then, we need to make really great products to give people the opportunity to take them. And, there's these incredible places like Meatsmith, for example, that really tick the boxes in every way of top tier produce, from their animals, and it's ethical farming. It's all these things, and they produce their beautiful ready meals, and they have their raw products. And there really wasn't that space for plant-based eaters. There's not many places to go to get something lovely that's already prepared to take home and throw in the oven. And I think that it's just the way that we're eating these days. And so for Smith and Deli to be able to fill that gap and be that spot for people to come and get a high quality item to take home for the family that's really healthy, hits your protein goals if that's what you care about. We are natural fiber maxers. So, I mean, we're ticking boxes no matter what you're into. So I'm just hoping that us making it accessible is going to help a lot of people on that kind of journey to reducing their meat intake.
Yeah, love that. And I mean, I bought some because, there's someone in my household who's on the protein. And so she made me buy some protein pasta. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I looked at the ingredients and the protein is pea protein. So it's like protein junkies. Did you know about pulses? Because they've got it going on.
That's exactly right. And the meats that we make here, it's the one we're making currently is 25 grams of protein per 100 grams of the product. So, we're going to make a conscious effort because, as much as, we can kind of laugh at all the, because it is kind of funny, at all these protein maxes and the fiber maxes, whatever is going on at the moment. At the end of the day, if it's important to someone, we need to make sure we're addressing it. And I want everybody to have a go at what we're doing. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But if protein is your goal, I need you to know that it can come from other places, but it's chicken breast and rice, and plant-based food can hit all those targets for you as well. So we'll be changing our packaging a bit to make that clearer for people, because I guess if you don't know and if you're not a plant-based eater and you might not have dived in and educated yourself on maybe where you can get things from, we'll make it easier for people that way.
Yeah, I love that. So Shannon, you said it wasn't that long ago that you were on the verge of closing or just working out how you could disentangle yourself. And now you seem to have a real spring in your step and all these new things happening. Tell me a bit about the change in how you're feeling about Smith & Daughters and Smith & Deli.
Well, I tell you, I was literally gearing up to move to Spain. Honestly, I was ready. So I'm still getting my head around it, to be honest. I think I'm maybe slightly traumatized by the whole thing. Because I haven't had a break really since I haven't had any break between cancer and COVID and all of this. So I think I'm still running on fumes a little bit, and I'm still stressed, but the stress is a good stress. And the stress I can deal with if it's like, oh shit, we've been super busy. Shit, this is happening faster than we thought. That's some stress I can deal with, But once the dust settles on this new space, I think I need to take a few weeks for myself to go to a place that isn't here and just recalibrate a little bit. I think we need a recalibration.
Well, I'd say you're definitely allowed to go to Spain, but can you please come back?
Do I have to? I'm joking. No, I never wanted Smith and Daughters or Deli to go away. I always wanted it to stay. You know, it's just when you start to lose hope, you got to think of your next moves, I guess. And now I'm just rearranging my thoughts and my life. And I'm happy about it. You know, I wasn't leaving because I particularly wanted to. I was leaving because I thought I had to. And I had no other option. But, you know, it's just getting my head around it again and not back in the game because it never was out of the game, but thinking different, I guess. Thinking positively, not always expecting the worst. Then when I get a call at 8:30 in the morning, not having that instant feel of dread before I press answer. And maybe it's going to be something good. And a lot of the time it is something good now. The news is not. And so that's really nice. So it's just adjusting myself a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. Shannon, you know, I reckon a lot of people listening to this will resonate with some of the hard stuff that you've talked about. There are a lot of small businesses where one person's pulling in a wage simply so that the family's small business can continue, can, you know, get through this week and hopefully the next. There is a lot of people running on the smell of an oily rag at the moment. Do you have any advice for people who are just not really sure how to get the numbers to stack up at the moment?
I think, look, I got really lucky with Kelly. I'm really, really lucky. Like I said, I was so close. Like, we wouldn't be talking today about the business, that's for sure, if it wasn't for her coming when she did. But what I think is really important, what I've learned from Kelly, is you need to tear your shit apart. And if you think that you know the numbers, just look at them again. Make sure that in your food costs, every single element, look at your bills you're paying and make sure they're all included in everything, because someone has to pay that rent. Someone's paying for the toilet paper in the bathroom. It has to all come from somewhere. And if it's not coming from the products you're selling, then it's coming from your pocket. And that's not sustainable. And I'd been taking it from my pocket for way too long and dug myself into a point where I couldn't get out. And this isn't some small corner store either. I mean, you know, we've got 40 plus staff. Now we've got 60 plus staff. So unfortunately, it wasn't just me behind the counter cooking and serving. That would have been ideal. That would have been easy to manage. But when it gets to a point where it's big enough, it can be really hard to get out of it. And, you know, you see people that have no idea about the industry comment on, say, posts on Instagram about why the coffee has to cost $7. And it's just, you know, people think that it's because we're pocketing the money or whatever it is. But I think we really need to break down what we're paying for things as a business and make sure that it's included. It's the only way to survive. Unfortunately, we can't just do it the way we used to. So I think that's probably the most important thing. 'Cause I was really resistant to it, right? Because that's the way we do it. It's just the way we do it as chefs. It's the way we've always done it. And so when someone comes along who hasn't been in the industry and is telling you to do it differently, it's kind of like, no, because that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. And then when the questions started coming of why do you do it like that? Then where does this money come from? I didn't have an answer for a lot of it. And it really sort of shook me a bit, right? Because I'm like, fuck, we've all been doing this wrong. And maybe this is why all our chefs are poor. And maybe why all us business owners are working in the business so much for nothing and struggling because we're maybe not quite addressing all the things that we need to be addressing. And I know that we're scared to have to charge certain prices for things and I get it. I mean, even putting up a sandwich, I really stress over because but then we won't have customers and then we'll be in even worse position. So I can't. But then your bills keep getting higher and no one's covering that difference. And you just have to hope that your products and your brand is strong enough and your customers are loyal that they get it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, speaking hard truth, but it's so important. And I mean, you're someone who's never assumed that things have to be the way they are because that's the way they've always been. I mean, just think about the food that you do. Like, it's very innovative, but it's interesting that there's just a bit of a block to looking at some of those business fundamentals with the same open-minded spirit of, I guess, creativity and embracing change. But I totally get it. It really, really makes sense. And goodness me, I'm happy to be chatting to you with this story and not a really sad, goodbye to a business story.
Oh, no, it was close. It was close. I could have been on the beaches in Dorothea talking to you right now, but instead I'm in an office in 7-degree temperature about to go into a meeting about my new location. And I tell you what, right now, I'd rather be in this 7-degree office talking about my second location. So,
wow, that is a bloody testament to it, Shannon. So
it all wasn't for nothing.
I love it. Well, thank you for fighting the good fight, and really appreciate you taking some time out to have a chat to us today. I'm always interested in what you're up to next, and I'm really glad to find you at this point in the journey. All power to you, Shannon.
Thank you, babe. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. See ya.
Bye.
This is Dirty Linen. I'm Dani Valent. We bring you untold stories from the food world. Real, raw, unafraid, hopeful. We're driven by a belief that food provides endless opportunities for learning, connecting, and creating the world we want to live in. Delicious, open-hearted, meaningful. If you know a story that needs telling, get in touch. Write to dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au. Thank you for listening.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.